What's up, everybody? It is the Tour Junkies After Dark. Are you drinking rosé?
Yes.
Oh, God. It's litty up in here is what I got to say. We just got done with the podcast, boys. It is late on Monday night. It's Tour Junkies After Dark, presented by DraftKings. I'm David Barnett, also known as DB. This guy over here is Pat Perry, also known as Pat Perry. He's wearing the PP.
I might have to go PP during this podcast. Show.
He's wearing the old school Tour Junkies t-shirt. If you actually, this is what's
Golf
crazy.
Club across the front here. Gain your edge.
Very cliche. Now this is wild. We didn't even plan this. Now Pat is wearing the first ever piece of Tour Junkies merchandise ever created. Also, I just realized I was staring at the microphone and not staring at the camera. There you are. Pat is wearing the first ever piece of Tour Junkies merchandise ever created. I am wearing the most recent piece of Tour Junkies merchandise ever created in the Azalea Bad Birdie Golf polo golf shirt with little Golbies on it. This is so confusing when the camera's... Little Golbies and azalea flowers on it, getting ready for the Masters in our hometown of Augusta, Georgia. But Pat is wearing the original Tour Junkies logo, and I'm still looking at the microphone. The podcast juice is flowing tonight, folks. This is going to be a good show.
What are you drinking tonight, DB? I mean, since it's flowing, because usually it's me that's got it flowing a little earlier than you do, but this week it seems like you got it going. So what do you got there?
Primarily an unnamed vodka that rhymes with Heatos and... a little LaCroix and a lime, and it's very good.
Did you pour a big unit tonight?
I poured a large unit of this one tonight. I wonder how much longer DraftKings is going to let us do this show. All right, let's get to it. Here's what we're going to talk about. You got two events going on this week, the WGC Match Play, which is with the biggest event where all the contest dollars are. And then you also got the Punta Cana Corrales Resort golf thing that's going on in the Dominican Republic. It is a full field alternate event, where a bunch of guys are playing also, and there's a cut. But we're not going to talk about that because most of the events most of the dollars contests on DraftKings are in the WGC Match Play. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. By the way, please give this episode a thumbs up. Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and ask you that now before this thing turns into too much of a problem. So give this thing a thumbs up. Give it a subscribe. That way you can check us out every week. Pat and I just finished the Tour Junkies podcast, which you can listen to wherever you listen to podcasts. And we talked about every pod, right? Every pod of the WGC Match Play and the guys we liked coming out of each pod. Now, before we get into that, Pat, I do feel like with this event being somewhat unique, I feel like we should give the listeners a little bit of a prep as to what, how scoring may be a little different this week. The golf course. Why don't you hit us with a little bit of that, a little strategy talk, and I'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah, so I mean the scoring is definitely different this week. I mean the major things you're looking at is whether or not the player wins the hole, the player wins the match. Those are huge, obviously, and then as they move on, you get some added bonus points there. But that's the key. You want them to win the hole. But here's the thing: there's only 4 quadrants. I mean, you look at it's like the NCAA tournament. When you look at the Final Four, only 4 teams are going to make it there. But you've got to choose 6 players this week, so you're going to double up at least on a couple quadrants. When you like that word, David? Quadrant?
I was going with regions, but if you want to go quadrants,
I like quadrants. I like that this week.
Okay.
So you're gonna have a couple extra guys there, but look, in order to win all the monies this week, you're going to have to hit at least a few guys in those different quadrants. So you can't really choose all the guys in, like, say, the South region or the West region or whatever it is. You've got to spread it out a little bit. So that's going to be key because that's where you're going to get the most points. But other than that, I mean, look, here's the thing. I mean, this is a course where I think you got to score. And David, I got to start right now because you mentioned the course, and my first beef with you actually has to do with the course.
Oh,
because you mentioned on the show that you didn't think the course made a difference whatsoever. You didn't care if there were bombers or whatever their type game was. And I'm here to say the Bombers are going to win this week. It doesn't matter. The cream is going to rise to the top. It does not matter what you think as far as quadrants are concerned. You got to play the game. Now, that does matter. Sorry, let me back up. That does matter a little bit. But you still got to play your Bombers this week because look at the last 3 years. Jason Day, Dustin Johnson, Bubba Watson, all Bombers off the tee. I think that's huge. You hate that. You don't like that. So I want to hear about why you think this course doesn't matter when picking players.
Listen, as a Bomber myself, okay, I will never discriminate against Bombers. I enjoy Bombers. I take in mini Bombers every week. However, I do not think it is necessito to be a Bomber this week on Austin Country Club. I think you can be, this is a Pete Dye design. Pete Dye is notorious as a second shot golf course. Relatively easier off the tee, but second shots are tough, right? So I don't think it has to be a Bomber. You cite Jason Day, DJ, Bubba Watson. Yes, all guys who hit it a long way. However, a 3-year sample size in the game of golf is not much. So, no, I don't care about Bombers. I care a lot about, number one, what you mentioned, having a player in every single lineup, at least one player out of every quadrant, as you like to call it. I'll call them regions. There's 4 regions. One player out of every region at minimum, and then you're obviously going to have to double up on a couple of regions because if not, you're drawing dead come the Final Four. And I'm looking at ownership. It's match play, right? Like, it's way less about the golf course. It's about beating the one guy, if you've been watching for the last couple weeks, the one guy that you're up against. That's what it's about. So I don't, stats, get out of here, stats. I don't care about stats. Course, I don't even really care about you, course. Like, I just want ownership. I want a quadrant, region, what have you, exposure variations there. And I want guys who have a little bit of
some variations there and some quadrants.
Yeah, I want guys who have a little chutzpah, a little bit of grit in the match play scenario.
See, that's the key. That's actually the key. If you're gonna throw out stats, grit matters. The guys that are great match play guys.
It's not a stat, Pat.
No, but it's not a stat. But right, I think that grit matters. People that play match play well, like your Matt Kuchars, your Tiger Woods, those type guys, there's just something different about match play. And so I think you can take some chances this week, and I like
agree.
The Europeans. I always like the Europeans in match play. Always like them. Because they kill us every freaking year in the Ryder Cup, which we spend all that money on going to Paris for. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, one guy I'm going to talk to you about that I have an issue with you is Jason Day. You pick Jason Day. Let me check out the little pod or whatever he's coming out of.
Did I really pick Jason Day?
You did. He is in pod number 12. He is with Phil Mickelson, Henrik Stenson, and Jim Furyk. Now, here's the deal. We didn't go into details on what DraftKings scoring actually looks like, but you can check it out. If Jason Day withdraws because he gets a boo-boo, and that's what Jason Day is known to do, is get a boo-boo, and he withdraws. If he withdraws because of a boo-boo, then he's going to give away points to everyone else. And I just don't really want to see that. And we know that he gains a lot of strokes, short game, and putting, and things like that. So I don't like him coming out of this pod. I think Phil, Stenson, a really informed Jim Furyk, who plays really well on Pete Dye designs, is a pretty tough pod to come out of. I'd say this is one of the top 5 toughest pods out here out of the 16. I'm not with you on Jason Day.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think if you're looking at these four guys, he makes the best fit. I mean, you look at Mickelson, he has he's in his 15th appearance here at the in the WGC match play.
But not at Austin.
Different course.
Not at Austin.
No, I know we're on a different course.
Yep.
But he's never finished better than a quarterfinalist in this event, and 15 appearances in this event. So it doesn't necessarily show that he's a great match play guy. You look at a guy like Stenson. This is his first crack ever here. It's the first time he's ever played this course. So I think that concerns me a little bit. Jason Day's obviously won here in 2016. So, I mean, I think he's a great play here. And he's, you know what?
Chalk.
At injury, if there's an injury concern, then fine. That just means he's probably going to be a little bit lower owned than he should be. And you got bigger names around him, like a Mickelson or whatever, a Furyk who's been playing great lately. So, I mean, I get the Furyk pick. I'm okay there.
There's a boo-boo concern. It's not just an injury. There's a boo-boo concern.
Yeah. Whatever. I don't think Furyk can play with these guys. Furyk is a what's the word for a guy that's like he's faking everybody out right now. He's played good the last few
mirage?
years, but
is he a mirage?
Yeah, he's kind of like a mirage.
Yeah, he almost won the freaking Players, the strongest field in golf, which is also a Pete Dye design. Yeah, anyway,
if you're playing Furyk this week, I'm going to tell you right now, you missed the boat. You should have had him before the Players, and now if you're playing him right now in the match play, you're going to get burned. Okay, that's what Pat's telling you. Coming off Disney trip, boom.
He's got that Disney swag. Oh God. All right. The next one I'm going to give you, let me find this pod, is I vehemently disagree with you. Oh, yeah. Now, I do think this is a weak pod, okay? I do think this is a weak pod. You picked the old Thunder Bear, Thorbjorn Olesen, which in Danish means Thunder Bear, okay? So he picked the Boo Boo Boy and the Thunder Bear. Thorbjorn Olesen coming out of the pod with Francesco Molinari, Webb Simpson, and Satoshi Kodiara. Now, again, I said it's kind of a weak pod. I get it, but I'm not a fan of the Thunder Bear. Molinari, who's in great form and kicked our butts in Paris when you had a lot of match play. We were there in person to witness the butt kicking. Webb, who's a decent player, also really good on Pete Dye designs. I don't really get the Thunder Bear love. I'm not for it.
Well, old Thunder Bear is kind of a gut play for me. I mean, I think just looking at his grouping and everything, I think he could come out of there. He's been playing really well lately, and he's just one of those guys that he's always going to be low owned. He's not a guy that's extremely popular.
Okay.
No, he doesn't suck.
Yeah, he kind of sucks.
He's literally one of the cheapest guys in this field at 6,500 on DraftKings. But
he actually has he has a 31% match play record in his career, winning matches. 31%, which is bottom of the field, near the bottom.
I don't care. You look at this field. Yeah. He is actually. 31. When I look at strokes gained off the tee, he's top 40 in the field, which I like. Strokes gained off the tee. He's 20th in the field in scrambling, which is one of the top. That's literally the top stat for me is scrambling. He's top 20 there. And as far as scoring opportunities gained, he's in the top 35 in the field. Literally across the board, when you look at these lower owned guys, and we're talking about a guy who's 6,500. 6,500. So we're in the lowest price range you could possibly get in. I like Olesen. I think he is. If you're trying to fill out a lineup and trying to get a guy from that quadrant that he's in, then you need to go with some Olesen, especially in GPPs, not cash, obviously.
Yeah, who's playing cash this week anyway? All right, what you got, Pat? You got anything against me, or are we ready to move on?
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, I will say I'm not. You didn't like some Brooks Koepka, which is your man. I cannot believe you didn't like him.
Tough.
He's played well here in the past. This is a perfect course for him, a bomber's course. I think you're kind of focusing too much on the Brooks Koepka DGAF, the don't give an F mode. which does tend to happen with him, but I think that's a little bit overplayed.
He don't give a F about nothing.
So I want to know, what else do you have besides DGAF for him?
Which, by the way, DGAF is really hard to say at this point of Tour Junkies After Dark.
It's very tough when you're drinking.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do love Brooks, but I don't know. Yeah, he hasn't been playing that great either. Like, I don't know. I kind of think
Honda Classic almost got in the playoff.
Yeah, Honda Classic. Like I said, I feel like if he comes out first match and wins, second match and wins, if he gets out of the round of 64 and into the Sweet 16, I think he could win the thing. But he's also one of these guys that if he loses his first match, he's just going to mail it in. Yeah, thanks. I'll take the $50,000, $100,000 check and I'll go home. And I'll prepare for the Masters, which I actually care about. I feel like that's what Brooks would say. That's all I got. I mean, Noren has a much better match play record.
Noren's been so bad lately.
He has been bad, but I feel like it's a Euro thing. I don't know. It's a contrarian move. I get it. Let's talk a little DK Sportsbook, because I got some sportsbook plays here I like. I'm going to give you two. And I like the long shots. You know, you guys know I'm a sucker for long shots at this point. I love long shots in golf. It's variable AF. In match play, it's also variable. Even though we've seen a little bit of chalk win with Day, DJ, and Bubba, I feel like the chalk. This is the year for the non-chalk. This is the year for the come out of nowhere guy. And one guy who just played really freaking well on a Pete Dye design at the Players Championship. In fact, found himself on Sunday with a chance to win, and that is the boy from England, Eddie Pepperell. Fantastic Twitter follow, by the way, if you're not following Eddie Pepperell. But Eddie Pepperell, I like him at 100-1 on DraftKings. I like him coming out of the pod that he's in. Great match play experience coming from the UK. Young guy, aggressive. I think excited to be a part of his first match play event. So I like Eddie P at 100-1. And finally, I like our boy Kevin Kisner, friend of the podcast, 66-1 on the DraftKings Sportsbook to win. He was in the finals last year against Bubba, runner-up. And now he had some extra holes previous to the Bubba matchup and got absolutely boat raced in the Bubba matchup for the finals on Sunday last year for the WGC. But we know Kiz shows up for match play. We know Kiz plays every Tuesday, plays a money game, plays match play money games, lights it up. He's one of the fiercest competitors in this entire field. And to get him at 66-1 on DK Sportsbook, I think is definitely worth a unit for sure. That's who I got.
Okay, well, I got a couple guys here that I'm looking at, and both of them actually are in the same quadrant, because I think this, if you're looking at the bracket, the lower right bracket is to me the easiest one to maybe come out of, and there's some definite like flyer plays in there, and one of them's Keith Mitchell. I think Keith Mitchell at 125-1. He's obviously been playing great. Won at the Honda Classic. We're on Bermuda grass greens, which he's been playing well and putting well on lately. So I like that at 125-1. Also, Ben On at 100-1. I think is a great play in there. So I do like that. And you know what? Switching over to the Dominican Republic, I think we got a few plays we could look at there as well. And I got a couple guys that I like. And one is K.H. Lee at 66-1. He was actually in the, I think he was in the lead over 54 holes either last year or the year before that on the web.com. So I think K.H. Lee is a good pick at 66-1. And then a couple guys that I think have been playing well lately as far as, in a weaker field event, you look at a guy like Corey Connors at 50-1. I like that. And then Hank Lebiota at 100-1. I think he's a good pick as well. So, we've got the match play, but don't forget, you got some guys over there in Punta Cana and the Dominican this week. Great odds, I think. I think there's certainly some opportunities on the DraftKings Sportsbook there.
Oh, God. We're getting the long blinks going on. I'm definitely a fan of the Lebiota pick, your doppelganger. I like him at 100 to 1. I'll go Sam Burns at 50 to 1. I like Sam Burns. Great short game, aggressive young player out of LSU. When you say Sam Burns, you got to kind of like do this a little bit. Like just, yeah, aggressive young player. Big fan of him.
Why do you have to do that?
Just because he's aggressive. He's aggressive. He's a young player. He scores birdies. He makes birdies.
Why can't you just say I want to play Sam Burns?
All right, that's enough of that. This has been Tour Junkies After Dark, presented by DraftKings. We'll be back next week, also after dark, for the Houston Open, and then a couple weeks we're going to be for the Masters, and I can't wait for that. See ya.
Out.